Hi, everyone. It's Marilyn, and welcome to Who Can It Be Now? Today is going to be a little bit of a shorter podcast. And what we're going to be talking about is identity and taking responsibility for your life and how sometimes we give the power to others, me included. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a psychic medium, teacher, and coach. And I teach people pretty much around the world. I've been international, how to grow their gifts, expand their gifts, and live a life from their heart and soul. And as I continue to grow and change and expand and shift, I'm still growing how I describe myself because my business is a kind of different business. I was just doing a meditation for Next Level Living. The course this month was Constellation of Your Soul, and they learned how to create a constellation inside their body. I don't even remember the course because everything's downloaded to me and I give it, but I was just doing the meditation part. And as I was doing it, because I never know what I'm going to do, I just close my eyes and go into a journey, and then I share that guided journey, and it's really great because they get to like not follow me as much as follow their own instrument themselves. And as I was doing it, some thought came through my head, probably because of what we're going to talk about today. Us being sensitive beings too, right? How we stand out, we're a little bit different. Not everybody understands us. And this thought went through my head about like the straight-laced person, I'll call them, or the straight-laced person, how like if they ever listen to this meditation, they'd be like, what the F is she talking about? But the whole thing is it would totally shift their life. It would completely shift their life. And the reason why I would say that, not that I would say that my work is enforced on every single person, it makes you think different. The whole thing about the work that I do is getting you out of the box, getting you out of formulations, which is what we're going to talk about today, formulas that are put upon you, and how we accept them and believe them. And we have to stop doing that. And I'm putting myself in this because I'm going to share my stories. So as I was doing this, I was like, oh, it's true. Like, it's really hard to describe what I do because I kind of just go within and I uncover these wisdoms, these truths, these belief systems, this new way of thinking, this new paradigm, we went into the dimensions of the soul. And that's a part of what we did in the lesson, and going into these different dimensions inside of us. And I uncover these things. And mainly what I feel like I'm doing, and on a practical level, is getting you to trust yourself more than anybody else, more than anything else, and to start seeing the world in a very aligned way, in a truthful way for you. So I do this through like all these different tools and techniques and gifts that I have, and storytelling and creation and imagination. And I was working with somebody on a call recently, and the woman was struggling with seeing, and she's like, I don't see at all. I don't see my guides. And she was like, just really frustrated with her experience. And I was adamant that that wasn't true. And normally I don't do that because I like accept people's experiences to some degree. But I was like, no, I'm sorry. This is my field of expertise. I can get you in touch with your guides. It's your mind that's in the way. It's your mindset. And the woman who was hosting the call, who I absolutely adore and think she's phenomenal, she's like, have you ever heard of such and such? It's actually for people who really can't see. And I was like, and which was great. We do this together. It's really her show, not mine. And I just go on and I guest, and I always like love her input because I just think she's incredible. And I was like, yeah, I'm still not going to buy that one. So I started working with her with the wall. She's like, there's a wall there. I can't get in. So I was like, I made her work with the wall. I was like, touch the wall. You have to use your imagination with me. Feel the wall has a song. The wall has a color. The wall has a feeling. And she broke through. Now, I don't know if it lasted because it could be like a bing, like that rubber band effect where she was like, that was great. Thank you so much. And I even got emails from certain people who were on that call who were like, thank you so much for doing that, because by you pushing through her resistance, what her experience of resistance is, right? Or what I'm labeling as resistance, because she's having an experience where she's struggling. And she told me she took classes and things. And I'm like, well, you haven't taken any of my classes, obviously. Although there are people that took my classes and they'll tell me they're still struggling. And I'm like, really? Let's go through some of those exercises. And then I go through it with them. They're like, oh, yeah. It's like, change the friggin' perception. You can have everything you desire. You really can. Now, I don't know that you can have it wrapped up in a pretty little bow exactly how you dream it, But I do know the energy and the essence and what's best for you and for the highest good is in that experience. But it's not in that experience if we want to argue for our limitations and say, no, this is the way it's been. And she was wonderful. This woman was wonderful because there was like three people. Usually I take more people on the call, but there was three people, and I was difficult with the first one and the last one because I was like, not on my time. Not on my time. Am I going to go with the storytelling of this is my life and it's over, kind of thing. And we're not talking about like these people. I really do respect people that are facing difficult circumstances. I'm not like, get over it. I'm not one of those people, but I want to give you tools and techniques to get through it and work through it and be with it. But if you're telling me no, 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 then, okay, no. But anyway, so my point about all of this is that through this work that I'm trying to bring out to all of you, I'm bringing out to all of you, I'm working on getting you to think different, to be different, to experience life different. And I can tell you from my own doing of it, it's been remarkable what's happened. It's been incredible, actually. And then there are moments where it's still like, I'm not going to lie. I always make sounds. I should have a sound effect machine by my desk, and I should just be able to hit it so it makes the sound for me. So I want to get into stories of identity. So lately I've been working with identity, as I'm working on my dreams and working on my goals and pursuing them and I shouldn't say pursuing them, being with my goals, being with the journey of my goals, because it's not about pursuit, because if it's in pursuit, the goal is always in front of you and you can't get to it. But if you're on the journey with your goals, then you're part of it, because something else and better, it may show up. So I'm going to sit on my hands. I saw an acting coach do that once with a guy in class, and she made him sit on his hands so that he could get in touch with his emotions. But that's not why I'm doing it. It's because I keep hitting the friggin' mic. I have to get a new mic. And I was listening to one of my podcasts, and I was like, stop hitting the fucking mic. Like, I was screaming at me, and I was like, and it was such a good podcast. The reason why I went back and listened to it, because I don't usually listen to it, is because I got emails from people about how it really affected them. I can't remember which podcast number it was. Otherwise I'd tell you. So anyway, so I'm sitting on my hands now for those of you on YouTube. And I'm wearing a black and blue sweater because it's cold. And I'm like, yeah, it's not the most attractive wardrobe to be on video with, but whatever. Okay, so let's move on. So it's identity. So you want to identify with who you want to be. So you want to be that person today. So say you have this dream of marrying a Hollywood actor. Just going to throw that one out. What the heck, for the fun of it. Who do you have to be today to be that person who's married to that person? Or somebody who's really accomplished? Or say you want this really big house on the beach. But if you're struggling with not paying rent, that person has to shift and change today to believe that she could have that house on the beach, or he can have that house on the beach. So who do you need to be today, right? Who do you need to embody? What do you need to embody now? What characteristics? That's where the constellation of your soul, we came up with new character traits, that you can embed and put inside your being and become it. And you don't have to do it with force. You do it with co-creation with source energy, and you participate in it. And then you allow it to exist inside of you, and then you allow it to mold you, and you mold with it. And it's not molding you, it's a co-creation. So think about who you have to be identity-wise in order to have the thing you desire, right? Again, I did this on StreamYard. I meant to do it on Zoom so that I could drink my big friggin' thing of water and pause the video. And of course we could edit it out, but whatever. It's life. Which losing my religion is in my head. It's life bigger than you. You are not me, Okay, so moving on, because I do have to take the dogs out. So identity, I want you to just play with that. We'll probably talk more about it in future episodes. Identity is also your gifts. Like, what are your gifts? And people really get hung up on this question. What are my gifts? And you guys think of gifts like something that fits into a small bowl. And gifts fit into an ocean. It's not just a small friggin' bowl. Oh, I'm clairvoyant, I'm clairaudient. That's not the only gifts that are out there. There's having compassion for someone, there's holding space for someone, there's being able to make somebody feel good about themselves in the moment of difficulty. There's seeing the truth. There's so many gifts, right? So stop putting it in a little soup bowl and put it in a bigger bowl and swish it around and find out what your gifts are. And as you identify yourself, find out what you want to be gifted in, because if you want it, you probably have it. So you might say to me, well, I'm not a basketball player and I want to be a basketball player. Well, if you really want to be a basketball player, go out and play basketball. Doesn't matter how old you are. I took up tennis when I was 49. And I never played sports, really. I was a little athletic. I was like a little runner and things like that, but never played sports. So that team sports has been a whole new interesting experience for me. Being coached for the first time by a coach was a really interesting experience for me because I wasn't used to it. So who do you have to be? Okay. All right. So now we get into identity and we get into relinquishing and releasing things that we no longer need or I need to identify with. And we start recognizing the untruths that are floating around our system because they were told to us by other people. And when you start to do that, you really start to recognize how you might be aligning with things that are not your truth at all. So this really started becoming very prominent to me. It's been prominent to me in different times of my life, but it really became prominent to me when I let go of my brothers. And all of a sudden, all these beliefs started surfacing, coming up to the surface. And I was like, that's not my truth. I can let go of that now. And I always thought that I did let go of it, but I guess having them still in my life still had me tapped into that belief, that energy. So they don't believe in what I do, right? So if I'm still in partnership or relationship with them, then I'm still believing in, I don't think you have to be. I was still tapped into that energy. I think you can be in relationship with people on your terms completely. I really do. So I don't want to say to you, oh, you have to get rid of that person in your life. You have to just become who you need to become. And if that relationship will exist inside of who you are and owning who you are, then it'll exist. If it doesn't, then it doesn't, and you won't miss it. But for me, I had to do a radical releasing for the last part of this journey with them, whatever it may be. I don't know how long this will go on. Well, I know with one brother, it's pretty much permanent for right now. Permanent in the sense of unless something shifts. And it would be more with that person, not me. And then the other person, the other brother, it's not as permanent, but I just am not ready to go back and have a conversation. So, but it feels freeing and it feels good. But I'm also recognizing where else this putting upon me comes about. And as sensitive beings, we've had people put upon us constantly, right? Oh, you're too emotional. You're too dramatic. My mother would call me Sandra Bernhard, the old time actress who was always so dramatic. And it's because she wasn't allowed her feelings. So she didn't understand it. She thought, oh, we have to quiet those feelings down. So I've noticed this more and more and more. Like I'm very sensitive and we're becoming, I think a lot of us, I had this conversation with Denise, and I think it was on our interview, Denise Sutter, about how much more sensitive we're becoming. And I believe as we're delving into our gifts and our being and our truth and aligning with our truth, we're recognizing how sensitive we are. And we're at a level of sensitivity where we can't hide any longer either. So what's happening with that sensitivity is that we're sensitive, right? We're very sensitive. And yet we've made a commitment, a decision to not hide any longer in this world. So we're now out there with our sensitivities, and they're like, we're wearing them on our sleeve. Like a friend of mine recently asked me, how are you doing? And I was like, my emotions are right on the surface. They are just right on the surface. I feel like this grief has really done a number on me, and I'm still in it. Now, I'm not like grieving to the point of in a fetal position on the floor, which I was a couple of times. It's a different kind of experience. It's everything has, my emotions are just there. They're raw. They're at the surface. And my tolerance level is nil. It's zero. And my experience of life is very vibrant, for the lack of a better word. The way that I could describe it is everything is very punctuated. Everything is very real. So it's a really interesting experience to walk through this life right now. And you may not be grieving and having this experience where things are so like there's a big exclamation point after every single thing, it feels like. And it's like, ah. And it's not always a feeling of exhaustion, upset, sadness. It's also excitement and joy. And so it's just like everything has got that kind of feeling to it. And it's interesting. It's an interesting time for me. And I'm sure it's an interesting time for many of you because I know the consciousness is shifting so much, so much. So as I do all of this, and then I go out and I try to play tennis with people who don't have these sensitivities, or at least they're not revealing them on the court. It's a fascinating dance between where I'm at inside and where I'm at outside. And so I play USTA tennis, and it's very competitive, and I actually don't like it, and I don't play a lot of it. So if you looked at my rating, it's not that great. It doesn't really reflect my game because I don't play a lot of it. And so I was playing USTA, and I like the team. The team is nice, and I every time I play USTA tennis, it's very stressful for me. I'm like, why am I doing this? It takes like up half my day, if not 3/4 of my day. I go, I play, I'm tense, I want to win, and I haven't been winning much lately. And then I like feel like crap. And I'm like, I don't like this. Why do I do this? When I play tennis with outside of USTA, I have a great time. I have enough tennis in my life. I don't need to be playing on these teams. And then I'll hear people around me going, you need to play on these teams. You need to do this. And I'm like, why can't you just respect how I feel that I don't want to do this? And somebody had said to me, you need to get past the anxiety of it all. I'm like, why? Why do I need to get past the anxiety of it all? How many times have I said to this particular person, I'm going through a lot of stuff right now. I'm grieving. I don't think I need to be on a USTA tennis court right now feeling the way that I'm feeling. And I don't think, for me as a friend, if somebody says to me, of course, I'm going to be truthful with them, but I'm not going to manipulate them into an experience that they don't want to have. I'll be like, okay, if that's what you want to do right now, like it's not fucking rocket science. I'm not, it's not something that I need to be doing. It's not like I'm not taking a shower, for days on end. They'd be like, all right, Marilyn, you need to take a shower because you're kind of smelling. It's not good for you. You're not self-caring. That's a different story. So it's always fascinating to me how people get so involved. And I realized part of why I didn't want to play was because once I got injured and I couldn't play. Another time, it was the anxiety was too much for me. I was like, I can't do this. I just because I go out there now and you want to win because you don't want to disappoint your partner. And I started disappointing partners and all of this stuff. And it's all on me. I'm sensitive, but a lot of people feel this way. I'm not the only one. And then there was whispering like, you don't play enough. You need to play more. Da 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 da. I need my partners. And I'm like, okay. So I was like allowing all that fucking noise in. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got asked to be on 2 teams. The team is very nice. The captains are so nice. I have no complaints about them. They're very nice. And I didn't realize 2 of the teams were overlapping. And I was like, I don't have the time. Like I was on 2 teams in January and February. It rained so much here. They had to reschedule constantly. And I had a puppy. And I'm not going to leave my puppy in a crate for hours on end. I just won't do it. So I had to get daycare. And then he couldn't go in daycare until he was like, and I have very, very safe, very good daycare places. I'm so blessed, thank God, because they are so, sorry God, but you know what I'm saying. They are so responsible with these dogs. And then I had a babysitter. I had a pet babysitter for every time. Like, okay, I'm going to play tennis. I got to get the pet babysitter to sit here with the puppy. Because I'm just not one. I know some people will be like, just leave him in a crate. And I'm like, not at 3 months, 2 months now. 4 months now. He's actually 5 months. He can do it. So now I'm starting to leave him a little bit longer. But I didn't feel good about it. I didn't want to do it to the little guy. So I was hemming and hawing over it. Like, it's stupid, right? A decision like this. How many times we do this? And I was like, I'm not doing it. I'm done. So I played on Sunday and I played horribly. And I would say not as bad as other times, but we didn't win. And I walked off the court and I knew one of the women, she's got a reputation of being a really good player. And I was like, you're the one who got into my head because you're so good. And I was like, I'm licking my wounds, leave me alone. And it was fine. I got over it. And I recognized, like, if it was just me playing singles, which is something I'm going to shift to again, I'd be fine with it because it's just me, right? But it's a reflection on, the partner and the team and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done. And I got questioned. And then I came home and I went into meditation with my guides, and they were like, don't do it. You don't need to do it. You can do it another time. Take the time out not to do it now. And so I contacted the captains and told them I wasn't doing it for sure. And that was it. That was it. And then I had a little FOMO, and then I was it. I was like, I'm done. And it freed up so much space in my being. Last night, for some reason, I just felt less stressed, because usually, like, during the week, especially if you have a match, for me, I'm like, oh, I have a match. Oh, that's like 3/4 of Saturday. Or I don't know if I'm on the lineup yet, and it's Wednesday. So and it's really fine. It's the way it works. I have no problem with it. Like I said, the captains are really nice people, and they have a tough job organizing everything, and I'm very appreciative. But I felt free. I felt free. It felt like such a great decision for me. And I was arranging tennis this week, and it was getting a little complicated because everybody's playing USTA. So trying to find somebody, and I arranged it. And I'm like, I'm okay. Everything's okay. And I also want to do other sports like mountain biking. I know I just went off on tennis, but I'm trying to show you that we hem and haw over things because this is about other people. It has nothing to do with me. But I'm allowing other people to affect my decision. So enough's enough. So I said no. So then I've been doing these different things. If you're not following me on Instagram and Facebook, definitely follow me, because we have opened the vault to a lot of my product that people love, like Tarot for Your Soul and Pick a Guide, which is free, a numbers class, the 10X class. I'm doing a live experience. It'll be, I don't know when the next one will be when this recording comes out. And so what I do is I write these posts, or I do a reel, and then you comment with a word and you get the special offer, because they're less than what they are on my website. And so definitely follow me there. So I'm really enjoying it. It's so much fun, and I'm engaging with people, and I'm picking up my social media, and I really like social media, especially when you love what you do. It's easy to do social media. And this is what they consider passive income, right? Yes, you have to have customer service and stuff. And luckily for me, I have a good team, and we're dialing things in. And a couple of things are going wonky, but that's okay, because we email and people have been great and gracious and everything. Like, I didn't get that thing yet. And I'm like, I just forwarded to my team and they figure it out. Or I don't see the email at all, or whatever. And so I was like really excited. I'm like, I love this. This is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I was on a meeting today with my mastermind that I'm in. And I told them, and they were all like, wah, wah. Pause for effect on audio, video got it. I was like, okay, all right. So they gave me their opinions and everything. And some of it was great. I'm not going to say it. And during the receiving of the information, I said to myself, remain open. There might be something here for you. Remain open. And there were a couple of things definitely for me. And when I got off the call, I was like disturbed, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm enjoying this part. This is what I used to do, right? And I'm bringing it back. And one of them was like, well, you have a new audience now. Is this speaking to the new audience? I'm like, yeah, because it's about the messaging. So the product is actually bringing in the right people that I can serve. When we say right or wrong audience, what we mean by that is the right audience for us. And they did say a couple of things that were really good, but again, I was affected. And I was taking their word over mine. And Spirit was like, what are you doing? You already know how you feel about this. You love this. You want to see where it goes. Why are you going to stop this? Because somebody said so? And I was like, you're right. And I went on Instagram and I saw my tech team had put up their own reel about automations. And I was listening to it and I'm like, thanks, guys, because that's exactly how I feel. Exactly how I feel. And sometimes we go through these things and we don't have anybody, because I was after the call, I was like, who could I talk to about this? Because normally I talk to them about it, right? I'm like, who? And I didn't want to. I was like, who could I talk to about this? And there was no one. I was like, all right. And, Spirit's like, you could talk to us. I'm like, yeah, but who could I talk to? And so I talked to spirit, and then I saw the signs and the symbols, and made my decision. I'm like, that's okay. This is what I'm doing. But again, like I said, there were a couple of things said that were really good. But the reason why I bring this up is because how many times we make decisions based on other people's opinions. And sometimes, like, I don't know what's going to happen with this. Is fine. I'm in the process of it. We'll see and everything. But I remember somebody saying to me, my dental hygienist at the time was doing my teeth, and she's like, you should really get a sonic toothbrush, but they're really expensive. And the way she said it, I didn't look into it because I thought, oh my goodness, they're like $1 million. So I'm not going to buy a sonic toothbrush. So I never even looked into it. And then I think that's my puppy barking. I don't know why he's barking. He must hear something outside. So I'm just going to let him bark. He'll be fine. He's a shepherd, man. Some behaviors we got to stop. They're both barking. I don't know if you can even hear it. It's part of the reason why I like having shepherds. They protect. Anyway, so the sonic toothbrush, right? So for the longest, she said it to me a couple of times, and I went to a couple of visits, and well, use this thing instead because it's cheaper and it's easier, and you could do this and use that. And so I'm looking at these other contraptions, and I'm playing with my teeth, and I'm like, I don't want to use this. Sucks. I don't want to do this. And so eventually I just finally was like, I'm going to go look up a sonic toothbrush. And it was totally affordable, and I bought it. It's been one of the best things I've ever bought. I friggin' love the damn thing. Why do we make decisions based on other people's perceptions and experiences? It happened that time when I was hiking with this woman, this awful woman. I was hiking with her. We went she took me up to the top of the mountain, and I was like, what's down there? And I pointed to this path, and she's like, oh, don't go down there. There's like wild animals down there. It's dark. It's not good for you at all. And I was like, okay. And so I never went down there. And then COVID happened, and I was exploring without her, obviously. I was like, I'm going to go down there. And it led to all these beautiful paths that circled back to my block, back to my house, like amazing paths. I would have never discovered those paths had I stayed in the limitation of that woman. So where are we doing this? Where are we staying in the limitation of other people? So there's something else happening right now. Like, we have to clear the brush here in Northern Cal. You probably have to do it in place that you are. And it's friggin' expensive, man, right? It's not $1 million like the sonic toothbrush, but it's not cheap. And I'm like, okay, talking to gardeners again to, get it done. And I said a while ago, I'm going to get a weed whacker. Said it to my neighbor. And I'm just going to start maintaining it because I like that kind of labor. I don't mind it. And he's like, oh, they never work, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da. I took it as belief. So now I'm going to go out and find a friggin' weed whacker and start weed whacking the weeds myself when they start coming up again. And maybe I'll hate it. And maybe he's right. I don't know. But why am I living my life by his experience and not my own? So that's the whole point of this. You have to find your truth. You have to align with your truth. Find the identity, what you want to identify with, and start living aligned to your truth, not everybody else's that's out there. And I want you to notice throughout your day how many times we accept other people's opinions as gospel without even having the experience of it. So many times. Okay, so I have another story, actually. It's a story I haven't told, and I don't want to tell. I actually tried to do it, tried to tell the podcast, I did a podcast on it, but it was too emotional for me. And one day I will probably tell the story. But there was a person in my life that was very dear in my life, and that person passed away. And I ran into another person, and we always had this kind of like weird thing where we grew up. We were young, high school, college age. We went to high school together. We grew up together. And I said to her, blah, 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 passed away. And I'm really upset about it. And she said to me, you didn't know her. Don't pretend like you're friends with her. You didn't even know her. And I was like, oh my goodness. And that affected me. Like, I did not grieve the passing of this person because I felt like I didn't know her in high school. We went to the same high school. She was a couple of years ahead of me. And I felt like she came into my life. She made a huge, I can't even talk about it. She made such a huge impact in my life. We were both changing our lives at the same time, moving out of Brooklyn. And she made this incredible impact. She stayed in touch with me when I went away to college. She went away to college, and then unfortunately she was murdered. And I will tell the story one day. And I never really fully grieved it because there was all these other people. She was one of these people that just touched everybody's soul and heart. She was absolutely beautiful inside and out. And she had a lasting effect on all of us. And I was like, I can't, I went to the wake and everything. I was like, I can't grieve like everybody else. Everybody else has more friends. And then I ran into this woman afterwards and told her about it. And she was like, you didn't know her. Who are you to say that? And I was like, okay, maybe I didn't. I don't know. Maybe I didn't spend the full day with her and go to her house and she came to mine another day and postcards, And then I was like, so when we found out that the murderer was finally found, he's not alive anymore. I contacted this person because I was trying to find out which year they were in because I wasn't sure. And I figured she would know because she was like newer in high school. And she was like, oh, I don't really know. I wasn't that close to her. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I don't know. I think my year. And I was like, no, I don't think she was your year. I think she was 2 years because she gave me her ID. She was 2 years older than me, this woman. And I went to California and I used her ID to get into bars because we looked exactly alike and everything. There's a whole story with this. And she was like, yeah, I don't really know what year she was. I think she was my year. And I was like, I don't think she was your year. And she was like, yeah, I didn't know her that well. And in the bar, when she said it to me, she was like, you didn't know her like I knew her. I knew her really well. And I was like, oh my goodness, I allowed this to affect me for so many years. I allowed what somebody said to affect me. How much are we doing this in our lives? How much do you do it when you go to a psychic or you go study with a medium and they're like, you're not clairvoyant, so you believe you're clairvoyant? Or you go to somebody and they're like, well, you're not an experiential medium like me. How do you know? Just because you do experiential your way? How do you know what kind of medium I am? Or maybe I'm supposed to be some other kind of medium that's just as good. Why do we let people label us and identify us and tell us stories and we take it on? And maybe you don't. Maybe you don't do that. Good for you. Because I was raised in a family where, as strong as I was and dominant in personality, I also was persuadable. So there was a lot of confusion going inside my being of like, you can't do this. Yes, you can. I want to do this. No, you can't do this. You're not good enough. So the moral of today's podcast is watch the labels that other people throw on you. It's like, spaghetti on a wall. Don't let it stick. Don't let them throw spaghetti on you. Don't let them do it. Let them have their experience. Now, if it's somebody who's really, really talking from experience, most people that are experts in fields and have a lot of experience, they're not going to tell you can't do something, or they may just tell you it's the norm that this is how it's done and it hasn't been done very well, or blah, 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 blah. Right? That's why I don't like boxes. Anybody tries to put me in a box, I'm like, get me out of this fucking box. I can't do boxes. Don't tell me about this rising up the ass and that and this number. I don't do boxes. But boxes, some of those explanations are very helpful to people, so I understand that. But don't allow people to label you. Don't allow people to identify you. You identify you. And like I said, if you go to somebody who's an expert and they're giving you advice, take it. Take it for what it's worth from the person. Like there's certain people that I really admire their advice, but usually how the advice is given is very loving, very open-minded, very supportive. So I'm trying to think like, do I take advice from people? I do. There are certain people I do and I really respect, but I weigh the advice against my own being if it's my truth. That's what I do. Like I'd ask my friend, one of my closest friends from Brooklyn, advice on something. And she was like, do this, do that, do this. She's very good with a lot of stuff. And it wasn't what I wanted to do. She was making me, but she was right, actually. So I kind of followed her advice. I was just like, you know what? She's right. That's why I went to her. So do that. But most importantly, don't let people label you. Don't let people define you. You define you. So please rate, review, subscribe, share this podcast. I'd like to get this work out to more people. If you're interested in how I work, go to MarilynAloria.com. If you're interested in my main program, it's marilynalori.com/next, N-E-X-T, next is for next level living. And go to my Instagram and Facebook page and definitely follow us. Something came into the room behind me. I don't know who it is. So go to my Facebook and my Instagram and play along. Look at the reels, and you can answer with keywords like live or 10x or guide. If you want to pick a guide, if you put guide in the comments, you'll get your own guide. Live is for the live experience. 10x is for my 10x class. Numbers is for my numbers class. Tarot is for my tarot class. My tarot class is amazing, and it's only the feedback I've gotten from like everybody who's taken it, and it is at an insanely great price right now. So if you go to Instagram, and I don't know how, I'm recording this on April 17th, 2024, so I don't know how long I'm going to keep it at that price, but go there and check it out. And most importantly, be you. Who can it be now? It's you. It's always you. Have a great day or night whenever you're listening. Bye.